Most businesses think they have a lead problem, but a lot of the time they don't. They normally have a system problem. So the leads are coming in, people are inquiring, forms are being submitted, messages are being sent to the business in their DMs, but they've normally got the following going on. Leads are sitting in the wrong place, they're going to the wrong inbox, no one's been assigned, they're not being tracked, or they're not being moved through a clear sales pipeline. And when this happens, generally what happens is the business says, the marketing's not working for us, but it probably is working. The business just doesn't actually have any visibility or any tracking processes in place. So in this episode, I want to take you through what we did with a real client where we fixed the lead flow, rebuilt the opportunities pipeline, mapped the follow-up, connected the sales, and made sure every new inquiry had a place to go. So just before we start, I'm Paul Meldrum, started in fitness, and within 2 years, I had won the National Trainer of the Year back to back. From there, I built Australia's first semi-private training studio and Australia's first seven-figure semi-private training studio, and then moved into marketing consulting and business systems, and then I scaled my own marketing consulting agency to over 7 figures in under 12 months. And one of the biggest things I've learned is that marketing only amplifies shitty operations. Okay, you can run ads, generate leads, get content, build the offer, but if systems behind, totally gets wasted. So I'm going to run you through today what I did with a real client. Okay, how I fixed their pipeline, made sure everything was visible, and set the team up so it could actually call, track, and convert inquiries properly. So the goal for this is by the end of the episode is you'll understand why leads need to become opportunities, okay, rather than a lead, why every single offer needs its own pipeline so you can track it, how staff ownership prevents leads from being missed, and why your CRM should make the sales process clearer, not more confusing. So if you run a gym, a wellness business, service business, coaching business, or any other form of local business really, this episode will probably give you something that you can take so you can see where the leads are slipping through the cracks. So the problem is the leads that we get often disappear in the business. They might exist in the CRM, be in your contacts, someone may have filled out the form, but your team doesn't actually know how to track it and where they are. And they don't know who's responsible. They don't know if the person's been called. They don't know if they've received emails. They don't know if they've booked. They don't know whether they came from a trial, a membership, inquiry, a recovery offer. And basically, everyone's confused. And what we see, I see this in gyms a lot as well, is the front desk has one view, the owner of the gym has one view, their CRM or their gym management software has one view, the CRM has that, Instagram has another, the website has another. Everyone's pissed off, and no one knows why the leads aren't converting. So also, the marketing team want clean data because they want to know if the leads are actually, they want to know if the leads are actually good leads. So then they can do better targeting. And then when that happens, the client comes in, you're here for the 7-day trial. No, I'm here for this. Basically, the whole experience becomes messy. So we need to have a really clear system. And a lead is only really valuable if you've got a system to actually nail it. So here's what we recommend. We're going to go a plan where we're going to turn every lead to an opportunity, build one pipeline for each offer with this business, and assign ownership so no lead gets missed. One of the most valuable things I've learned is to define what good is when you are building a system in a business. So we need to make sure that good, when you have leads coming in, is the leads get defined. Each pipeline, okay, there's one pipeline for each offer, and assign ownership so no lead gets missed. So the first issue we fixed was people laying aside contacts but are not properly becoming opportunities in their CRM. Because what happens we were using GHL for this particular business, and what happened is everyone was going into the contacts and became really, really messy. So if the lead is only sitting as a contact, team has to go hunting, they have to search through the CRM, they need to remember stuff, they need to manually check. It's just a nightmare. So what we did is we made sure we had a really simple automation that if someone actually became an opportunity, they would show up in that pipeline. When someone inquired about membership, they would show up in that pipeline. When someone inquired about recovery, they would be in that pipeline. So we want to make sure that the system doesn't rely on the team remembering stuff because people forget stuff, people get distracted. That happens. That's reasonable to happen. We need to make sure that the system ensures that people actually, make sure that people go where they need to go. And we basically set it up as this inside their go high level software, which we set up for businesses. The opportunity would come up as the name, the email, the phone number, the source, so where they came from, the offer that they were looking at, the pipeline they were in, the stage they were at, whether they're call 2, call 3, call 4, etc. The owner, so who is actually taking care of it, the value of that particular prospect, because if you can see how much your prospects are worth, you're probably a significant portion more likely to pick up the phone. Notes around it and any tasks and communication. So the reason why we do this is that when anyone comes in, they can see exactly what they're after and they can pick up the phone and go from there. Okay? and they know where it's at. So from then what we did is we made a clear pipeline for each offer for this business. And a lot of businesses put every lead in one pipeline. It's more effort to have segmented pipelines for the different offers that you have. It is so much more efficient, and also it tells you where to focus your efforts. Okay, because free trial is different from someone going from something totally paying, and then your marketing should be different for each of them, and then you can work out which offer is the most profitable one for your business. That is a really important thing to have. Okay, so we made sure we had pipelines for 7-day trials, for different tiers of membership, for recovery, for all the different services they had different pipelines. And it was really, really useful to define that because A, we knew what worked, and then B, we could set the individual parameters for how we do the follow-up based on that. Follow-up should change based on what you offer. Okay, there's a few key rules. Number one is speed to lead. You want to reach out to that person within 5 minutes. That is a universal rule in marketing and sales, that if you can do that, you will have a higher conversion ratio. Very, very important. Okay. If someone has opted in for a paid offer, you may need to call a couple more times. If someone is doing a free trial, you may not need to call as much because you have automations that take care of it and they come in. So you need to make sure that each pipeline is also defined relative to the offer to what that person needs. If you don't do that, you're doing something wrong. Okay. And then the next part is ownership. So generally what you want to do is assign each lead a clear owner. Okay. This allows you to do a couple of things as a business owner. Number one, it allows you to abdicate responsibility to the party who is best suited for that particular job. So my rule of thumb is the most expensive leads and the best leads go to the best salesperson because you've got a high likelihood of closing them. The worst or coldest leads go to the worst salesperson, okay? I know it sounds harsh and it doesn't give people the opportunity. You want to reward the good salespeople, and people will get better from reps of bad stuff, okay? It will also tell you who's actually hitting their KPIs. Are they hitting all the calls and stuff like that? Because if they're not, guess what? We have a problem. So we need to make sure that each opportunity is assigned to a staff member. It can also have a backup, okay? The person is responsible for calling, texting, updating notes, moving the lead through the pipeline, and making sure the next task is set. So if someone calls and the client doesn't answer, leave an SMS, move them into the next stage after you've taken notes. If he answers and books, you move the person to, closed one. If they say not interested, move it to not interested, etc. You need to actually identify where things need to go and actually do that. Okay? It's really important to do for team performance, but also tracking everything that was in. So the next step that we need to do for that team is to actually train them. So CRM only works if a team knows how to use it. And again, this is a big mistake I've seen in businesses across the board. It's more the fact that people just assume. If they don't know what good is, and you teach them and you tell them to do something without giving the guidelines, guess what? They don't do a very good job because they don't know how to do it. And that's a totally reasonable thing. So we've actually organized a training layer to go through how to find opportunities, how to open a lead, how to call from the profile, how to add notes, how to create tasks, how to add a lead to the next stage, how to assign ownership, how to book a walkthrough, how to use the pipeline views, how to know which offer everything came from in real time. And for a lot of people, it feels like it's really, really boring and really monotonous, and it should be common sense. We don't assume in that. We want to make sure that we actually do it in real time and the person does it. So my process that we use there is that I do it, I show it, they do it and they show it to me, then they do it and they show it to someone else, they come back, show it to me again, and if it's good, then we've got some degree of confidence. When we're looking at CRM-based tasks in a computer where it's got a trigger and then a very specific workflow and a very specific indicator of what good is, it's a lot easier to teach, particularly because it's like drag and drop for a lot of it. So this whole process is actually a really powerful one for that business that we worked with, because we're able to find a ton of opportunities and a ton of lag in their workflows that they had for leads, and hundreds of unconverted leads and opportunities. So the lesson was really simple. Leads do not convert because they exist. It's really simple to do. They only convert when there's some visibility associated with it. They're assigned to someone, they're followed up and tracked, because you need to know which part of each stage is the one where you're falling apart. So if every offer goes to the same pipeline, they're easy to miss and it gets confused. If no one owns the leads, no one follows up properly. If the CRM does not connect to the sales process, the business blames the marketing, where the real problem is actually the system when they miss it. So the standard is basically that we defined for this business, and you should define for your own, is every lead becomes an opportunity. Every offer has a pipeline. Every opportunity has an owner. Every follow-up gets tracked. every outcome gets recorded, and from that, that's how you turn marketing into revenue. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time. Build, acquire, scale with the Ascend Collective.